All right. What's up, everybody? This is Jason from the Tone Lab, and welcome to another episode of Chillin in the Studio. And today we've got a special guest, Al Glassman. How you doing, man?
Howdy. Doing good. Thank you for having me here.
Yeah, thanks for coming on, man. I appreciate it. And as always, I'm joined with my co-host, Tony Engel. What's up, brother? How you doing?
What's up? Hi, everybody.
Yeah, well, thank you for coming on, man. Shout out to Zach Joe for hooking us up, and I appreciate you taking the time to come on here with us.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see Zach too often these days, but I'd probably cut a toe or two off if he asked me to. He's an amazing dude. So
glad to have you, man. Appreciate you making the time. And so, let's go back to the beginning. What got you into heavy music and guitar?
Ooh, when we were talking during the intro, I know we said we weren't going to dive too deep, but I guess we're going there right off. Fucking my mother's boyfriend ended up in jail, and I ended up with a ton of guitars and like Van Halen tapes as a kid. So
really? Wow.
Inherited a ton of shit, and I would just sit in a room alone, and you're staring at like 6 guitars. You start dicking around, and I think my introduction to music was kind of what was kind of left to me when he got locked up, and went from Van Halen to like, I think at the time, I mean, I'm getting old. We're all getting old, but like, Nirvana was like a big thing. And so it was really easy to learn a guitar, and then kind of just naturally progressed to like the Metallica, Megadeth, Pantera, and kept trying to find heavier stuff. Like, don't know why, but I remember like getting really into Earth Crisis because I saw someone had like a shirt, and I'm like, that looks metal. And like, I am definitely the farthest thing from straight edge. I had no idea what straight edge was, but I was like, this sounds heavy. And I ended up going to see them with a friend of mine when I was probably like 13 or 14. And it was the very first New England Metal Fest, and Skinless opened. And that was kind of the first time I was at a real concert, and watching Sherwood come out with like the gas mask on with the mic duct taped in the bottom, and like ripping that off and jumping off the PA, and then climbing up to the balcony and taking people's drinks. You're just kind of like, as a child, like blew my mind. It's like, holy shit, this is what I'm looking for. This is what I want. So I went up to one of the distro booths and just said, like, I want everything that sounds like Skinless. And I like whatever, $40 I had from my like after school mail house job on me. And I think like the first pile I got was probably, at least in I don't know where I got that day, but the first kind of slew of bands I got into were directly, the results of seeing Skinless were like the Dehumanized, Prophecies Foretold, I think it's the record. Eternal Suffering, Drowning in Tragedy, like that kind of late 90s, early 2000s brutal death scenes, kind of where I found my niche and was like, this is where I want to be. This is what I want to do. And, just started kind of trying to play it and started fumbling around, and had a really shitty middle school band that kind of morphed into Goratory, which was us just kids trying to do that.
So Goratory is one of your first bands, basically?
Yeah. The first Goratory record, I think our singer Adam was 14 on it, so probably put me at like 15. It was called Sexual Intercourse. But yeah, we were kids. We were children, man. We didn't think that, but did that for years. We've had that band until I was probably around 20 or so. I think we stopped playing around maybe 2004 or 5, around then.
Nice.
Yeah.
And still going, right? Still going.
Yeah, I mean, we're all best friends. We all see each other a lot. I mean, now that I live up in the woods in New Hampshire, I don't see them as much as I like, but I mean, still at least once a month I get together with the guys. But so we'd pop up every now and again. When I was doing even like Despised Icon days, if we had time off, we'd pop up for like a reunion show here and there. And then when JobForACowboy started dying down, touring wise. We popped back up to do Maryland Death Fest, Chicago Death Fest, and just kind of a couple like local-ish shows around our area, just to kind of play in front of our friends. And
Nice.
yeah, I mean, it's a fun thing. So we started playing again together in like 2018 was like a run of reunion shows. That's when we started talking about doing music again, and put out a record in 2020 through Everlasting Spew. Put it out for us.
Nice.
That was a lot of fun, because when we were doing the bands, when we were kids basically, and trying to play, like wanting to do like Cryptopsy riffs and shit, but you just couldn't do it because I wasn't that good I'm still not that good, but I was definitely not that good then. So it was fun kind of coming back, at the time in like my late 30s, and being like, okay, now I can play the Goratory riffs I wanted to play, and we can, put that record out. And we were just kind of happy, like Giorgio from Everlasting Spew was willing to do the release for us. So yeah, it was fun getting back together with the guys to do that.
Yeah. So Despised Icon, was that like kind of one of your first? Is that your first kind of touring band, or how did that come about?
Met them when they used to come through Mass. I want to say I was letting them crash in my house. I don't know. I met a lot of bands just from having like a house for people to stay at, where you're like, hey,
gotcha,
we got like beers and floor space kind of thing.
Right.
Like met Black Dahlia Murder that way back. The Cow Decapitation. Like it was just, I had that house in Massachusetts for a lot of bands for a while, but met them that way. But it wasn't the first touring. We started touring with Goratory, doing like Europe, Asia runs.
Oh, nice.
Back in the early 2000s. And then that band kind of, when we ended up taking a break, our drummer was starting to try out for other bands. He was trying out for, I want to say he tried out for the Red Chord at the time. And our singer was going to college because it's that age. And it's like, I'm definitely not going to college. I'm not that smart, and I don't have that much money. But so I kind of saw the writing on the wall. And at the end of like the Goratory touring cycle, the last Euro run we did, our original bass player came back, Max, and he had been playing in this like hardcore metalcore bands, and they needed a guitar player. So I ended up kind of jumping ship just to go with them, because I just wanted to tour and wasn't ready to accept being a real person and working construction again. So I just kind of jumped ship, went off with them, did that for a while, and then ended up with Despised touring. How the hell did I end up with them? I want to say maybe it was they were looking for a guitar player. I want to say maybe I sent them an audition video, but I knew the dudes from just staying at my place. I think at the time, like I had to go like buy a digital camera, like a thing to record. I think I like have a memory of that, to like figure out how to upload onto YouTube. I remember the whole YouTube thing was new to me at the time, because that had been like 2005 or 6 or something. But yeah, I want to say I had auditions for them, like learning Bulletproof Scales and Warm Blooded, I think was the songs. But so I ended up playing with them, because they're Montreal and Boston. I got some family in Montreal, so I go up, stay with family for practice. And then the bass player Max, who was in Goratory, got me in Burning Silence. I ended up taking him along with me when the Despised bass player left. So Max ended up tagging along for that. We kind of just kept carrying each other around. Like whoever had a touring bands would kind of grab the other one and bring them along with them. They like just help each other out, and
nice.
Or with your friends. But so Max is actually Black Dahlia Murder now, which is fucking awesome. He's had a killer career going from Despised right into Black Dahlia. So he's killing it.
Good for him. That's nice.
Yeah.
So how long were you in Despised for?
Did probably around 2 years. I want to say maybe 2006 to 2008. I was touring with those guys.
Nice. How'd you like that? Any memorable shows or do you care to share? Like, I know I never had even heard of them. And then I think we were in Denver, and it might have been more of an old school death metal show, but they came and I was like freaking blown away. They're heavy band. Yeah.
Phenomenal band.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I definitely, for me, like I toured a bunch, but it was the first consistent, like, awesome shows. You know, going out with Goratory, we'd be in Europe playing in front of, 150 people and like a night. Doing Burn in Silence, we were going out and playing in front of like 50 people a night. And I was just on the road like that for, a year and a half, 2 years, and then went into Despised Icon, where back then I feel like that's when the like VFW scene, like the, Knights of Columbus just shot the venue scene, like really took off. And you just be playing these packed out places every night where like, the no monitors, you're just playing on the floor, 2 speakers behind you, and you just pull up and see like a line already going out on the street. So those shows were amazing. Just doing like skate parks and wherever. But also, did a lot of touring with JobForACowboy, which is how I met them. We did Europe with them, Doth and Unearth. That was my first like big Euro tour. So it was a good time. We toured with Cephalic over there. Did a lot of Awesome Fest, Brutal Assault, in Czech. So yeah, it was good. It was my first experience like doing real touring, not just kind of like sleeping in the Walmart parking lot and knowing you're going to run 20 people the next
in a bus. Maybe. Old Leonard used to tell me some stories about just how like you still sharing the bus. You're sharing the bus with 3-4 bands. He's like, oh no, it's only us and one other band. It's like you're super stoked if you're on the bus with just you can all actually fit.
We did it for a minute. We did when I got into JobForACowboy, they were doing the buses, and we did that for, probably I'm gonna say maybe like 2009. We did bus runs. We got our own, and holy shit, we made no money. Like, we were the brokest fucking bands. We all lived in a band house together in Arizona, just like making whatever we could afford off the George Foreman grill. Like, we were on, I want to say our management had us on salary for $1,000 a month, which is like half of what minimum wage would be.
Yeah.
We're touring in a bus doing these huge fucking shows, and holy shit, we had no money. So eventually we smartened up. We were young. We were in our 20s, and then we smartened up and got back in a van and realized we could pay bills.
Yeah. And so with JobForACowboy, so how, I'm just curious, how does that, so it seems like the only like original member is the vocalist, right? Is it Johnny Davey?
Yeah, it's Johnny.
Yeah. And so you just it's kind of almost like an incestuous thing, like where everybody's just like, oh, I'm going to borrow your bass player for a while. And once you're like professional working musicians, it's just like jump on whichever tours or gigs. You got to learn the songs. Would that be accurate?
We're doing that for drummers right now. We don't have a drummer. We kind of just hire on our buddy that did our last kind of reunion show at Blue Ridge last year. Fucking killed it. And Naveen did our record. He's a phenomenal drummer. I really, really killed that record. But when I joined, I replaced Ravi, who was one of the original guitar players. He wanted out. I think he went to school I think he's a dentist now. I could be wrong.
Oh wow!
I replaced him. But when I came in, it wasn't like a fill-in spot. Johnny called, asked if I knew any guitar players because Ravi was going to be stepping down, and I had toured with them a bunch and just kind of was like buddies with the guys, and I was like, well, hey. I kind of had some things going on with Despised at the time. I think during Despised, I like going along with it being my first real touring band. I was a fucking mess. Those poor guys had to deal with me.
Sure.
I felt bad for them. So like, I definitely fucked that whole situation up because I was a piece of shit, but it was just like drinking a lot. So I think, it was probably best I moved on at that time. Those guys are all amazing. They didn't deserve the hell I probably put them through during those years. But I just saw Alex from Despised Icon actually 2 weeks ago went up. He runs an amazing brewery out of Montreal. If I can give a shout out to Mr. Go drink their beers. They're amazing.
Nice.
But anyways, I got the call from Johnny, so I ended up flying out to Arizona. Ended up pretty much like immediately. We went out, did a Mexico run, and then came back and was like, all right, we have to do a record. And I think, I mean, at that time, I don't know how much Robbie had, the old guitar player, in the writing, but when they had me come in, it was definitely a clear thing. Like, we need someone to work on the record with Bobby. And Bobby's an incredible songwriter. He still writes. He hasn't been in JobForACowboy since 2010, I believe, but he still contributes a song to every record we do.
Oh, wow.
Great writer and good friend of the band. Just the, life didn't work with the touring thing anymore. So we still kind of consider him part of it. But when he left, it was also like not a fill-in kind of thing. We were looking for a permanent, like someone to fill Bobby's shoes permanently. And we ended up with Tony Santacandro, who was actually recommended to us from the Despised Icon guys. He had been doing fill-in work for them. And I was on a tour selling merch, I believe, for Revocation in between JobForACowboy tours. And Revocation was opening up for Despised Icon. And that's kind of when I like the run right after I found out Bobby was going to be leaving the band. And so I was kind of just talking about with the guys like, hey, who do you think's going to be around? And then the Despised Icon guys recommended Tony, who happened to live and grow up with I grew up knowing his older brother, which is weird. I just never met him. So he grew up in the same town, area as me. So it kind of worked out. So we got him in the group, and he's a shredder. So he could play all the stuff I wish I could play. So it was a lot of fun writing with him. But then the band kind of took a dip, I think. Like, we started doing some runs that were kind of shitty shows. It was like, what are we doing with our lives? And the bass player, Brent, who was one of the other originals, left on that run. And that's where we finished out that tour without a bass player. And Charn, our drummer at the time, was like, dude, we should ask Nick from Cephalic. He's like, he had just hung out with Nick recently. And he's like, Nick's fucking awesome. And I grew up listening to Cephalic. I know, Nick wasn't playing on those records. It was Josh back then, but I was familiar with Nick's playing, so we ended up calling him. As he might have been the one where we might have asked to fill in on a run. I don't know if we just asked him to join or come aboard. I don't know the circumstances, but I mean, I think he made the biggest impact on the band as far as musical sound, on the records, and kind of changed our direction of where we were going. So
yeah, because right about 2005, 2006 is when I stopped doing bands. It's when I pretty much started doing the studio. We started in the early mid 90s. And then, but I never got to tour. I'm always sitting here soaking up the tour stories like a sponge. We've, little tours around, the States and vans, but no European tours or anything. No, what I'm really jealous of is all the South America stuff, because everything I hear and see from South America just looks amazing. The kids just freaking go crazy. And our recording project that Tony and I are doing now, we're just dropping singles, and everyone we drop, they do freaking great. Argentina, all these. It's so I'm dying to go down there, and so I'm super jealous. He's like, oh yeah, we went to Mexico right off the jump, and then what did you think of South America? How far did you get down there?
I've done Mexico a lot throughout the year.
Still awesome, right?
With different bands, which is always an amazing time. But we only did South America once. I think that was probably, I don't know if that was 2012 or so. I can't remember what year around, but we only did one full South America run where we hit Sao Paulo. It was somewhere else in Maritiba. Probably watching that. We played a couple places: Brazil, did Colombia, Venezuela, Argentina, Chile, Ecuador, and it was really fun. And it wasn't what I expected. Like roaming around Sao Paulo and like 2 a.m. after the show, and it was just like such a cool vibe and place. And we're going to a hardcore show at it had been like 3 a.m. I was wandering around with our drummer, and there was just like a packed ass hardcore show happening with probably more people than were at our show. We just wandered in like, hey, we played up the street, and like this let us in. And
awesome.
But, yeah, South America was fun. The one place I remember when we hit Venezuela, the tour manager was like, not our actual tour manager, but the like local one that set up the tour was like, look, Venezuela is not like everywhere else in South America. You can't just wander around by yourself. Like they'll shoot you for your shoes here. And like, all right, man. Cause like everywhere else we went, you just play and you just wander around. It's just, you're in the world.
Go do sightsee.
Have fun.
Right.
And, yeah, they're like I remember them being very adamant about that before we got there. And then when we got to the airport, it was the sketchiest shit ever. Like we were standing at passport control, and this guy in a suit comes out, points at each one of us, and like pulls us out from behind passport, out of the passport line, and walks us around passport control, and or whatever you call those booths there. So we got like escorted through there. We're like, all right, this is weird. What's happening? So then we get they bring us up to like the baggage claim. So we get our bags, and then officers come out and pick our bags up. Like law enforcement officers are picking our bags up.
Sure.
Walk us through customs, and no one looks at any of our stuff or like, what the fuck is going on? So we just get brought outside, and they like point at a van and tell us to get in. We're like, dude, this is the sketchiest fucking chapter. Because we just like heard all these stories. Like, don't fuck up Venezuela.
Yeah.
So we get in the van, and then one of the dudes with the like law enforcement stuff gets in, and we like head up the street, like, on the highway, like 1 or 2 exits, pull over. He gets out, takes off his whatever, like cop shirt, and he's got a Cannibal Corpse shirt underneath. starts laughing at us, and they open a cooler of beers and stick it in the back. And I was like, man, they just paid off the airport. Like they just paid off, like put their own dudes in there to escort us through to make sure we wouldn't get fucked with. It's like,
holy shit.
That's dope.
That's a wild story, dude.
And it was to play a venue in front of like 300 people. It wasn't like we were doing like this like cat place.
Sure.
But it was fun as hell. And then I definitely did not heed any advice, and I took off drinking, and my tour manager was very sad with me when I showed up at the hotel the next day.
But you still showed up. Yeah, because so then I started doing the studio, and then someone had shown me, I don't remember where I was, but they showed me the Job for a Cowboy, and I remember that first, they've got that first disc, I think did pretty well. But at that time I was already full on in kind of recording and all that stuff. So I heard it, checked it out, and then I kind of heard another one, and then I kind of haven't paid attention. And then just these last like 3, I don't know when exactly, but it seems like the style did kind of change. And one thing that I thought was really, with you, the guitar work with you and Tony is incredible. And like you were saying, you weren't maybe on a lot of the recording on the 2024 one, but I was just I was like, man, I don't remember, so I went back and listened to a bunch of different discs and stuff. But those last, when did you join? Like how many CDs have you been on since?
I joined at the end of their touring cycle for Genesis. So like their Genesis was their first full record.
It was their first one. Okay. So you were in pretty quickly then.
Yeah. So I came in 2000, probably, I don't know, it was the end of 2008 maybe.
Okay.
Came in. So I wrote Ruination with me and Bobby, the guitar player at the time. I want to say he had 1 or 2 songs done that they were like working on, but were mostly there. It was the song Constitutional Masturbation and another one. But we basically just spent 2 months, just me and him in a room, like working through the stuff. We had like a band house, so we'd like yell to our singer Johnny. He'd come in the room. We'd like, is this riff shot or hot? And we kind of just write all day, and then go to this bar, Casey Moore's in Tempe area, and just get plastered, and then wake up and do it all over again. So we pieced together Ruination fairly quickly. Living all in the same place was pretty helpful because we get stuck. Because we were writing on a Mac. So we kind of like get to a point we're stuck and like, all right, everybody in the band, we're going to the practice space. And then we kind of like flesh it out live and then go back to the house and go back to like tracking, with the new ideas. So we were kind of just in like writing mode for a couple months to do that one. And then after Bobby left and we got Tony, me and Tony's like introduction was EP we did called the Gloom EP. It was like a limited press, just short thing we did. I think there's like 4 songs on it. And then Demonocracy was the first full length that Tony was on with us. That was our least well received record, which definitely the most direction I wanted to go. I know at the time, like our bass player Nick was not stoked on that direction because he wanted more of what the band turned into with Sun Eater and Moon Healer, but he wanted that more kind of open vibe, and I come from like tech death and grind, so I just kind of wanted everything to be like balls to the wall, blast beats and screaming and like
gotcha.
So Demonocracy was the record me and Tony worked on together. We kind of we call it riff bin. We'd riff bin songs. So like we'd just be like, you got a tempo going and we just compile, like 5 minutes of riffs, and we sit down together with each other's songs and kind of chop them down and be like, all right, where's the meat of this? Let's make this go somewhere. And then
interesting.
Yeah. And then with Sun Eater, Nick had a big influence on that one. Me and Tony sold kind of the same process where at that time, I was living back in Massachusetts, and he was as well. So me and him worked on that kind of in isolation. It was just me and him, and we'd send tracks off to the guys. But I'd go over to his, I think we were meeting at his brother's house during that one. So like me and him would write, and his brother would be programming drums for us, kind of just get like rough templates going of songs. And then a lot of stuff changed in the studio. Or like we had these songs, the Sun and Nihility is the first song on that record, and
sick ass song.
Yeah, that whole intro with bass and everything wasn't there when I was in the studio.
Oh, really? Surprise!
Yeah, so like Nick definitely brought his vibe hard on that one, and I think it was the first time he felt. Like when he was on Demonocracy, that was the first full length he was on with us, and I think he kind of kept. Not kept quiet, but like he wanted the super loud bass. He wanted the big flowing riffs, and it just didn't happen on that one. And I think was Sun Eater was the first time Nick was like fully comfortable. He'd been in the band. He's like, this is what I want to do. Here's my.
Is that fretless?
No, he doesn't play.
Okay.
It
sounds like it between Sun Eater and Moon Healer. I'm like, is that a fretless bass?
No, he plays a Warwick. I believe it's a Dolphin. I could be wrong.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he plays a Dolphin. But his playing just sounds so really smooth and kind of, I don't know, slippery.
Some of the symbolic stuff sounded that way too. Like the symbolic stuff had a lot of that. Once he joined, it kind of changed. You could hear the change in the bass for sure.
No, he has a really neat technique, but he was, I think the driving force, I know he was a driving force behind the change in our sound. I think going from when the band started, they were kind of kids trying, and I could be off base with this, but I think my take on it is they were kids trying to play death metal. And because deathcore wasn't a thing at the time, like that didn't exist.
Right.
When you look at the bands that kind of started that genre, like the earlier Red Chord stuff, Despised Icon stuff, the initial ones, those were those were death metal dudes, you know.
Absolutely.
Like,
yeah.
Mike Gunface from Red Chord is like, he is a encyclopedia of metal, and that dude is amazing. And you know, that genre didn't exist, but like in our generation, I mean, the guys that were doing the brutal death metal back in the day, like what did they listen to? You know,
Right.
and everybody that's 40 now, back when we were 15, we were listening to, you know, just for example, like I loved Skinless, but I had heard Earth Crisis first, you know, so you're going to take some of that with you.
Right.
So I think in just kind of inherently every generation, it gets a little more mashed up. Like now bands are calling themselves hardcore now that are certainly not hardcore bands, but that's what it is.
Right.
But I'm in that headspace of like what hardcore was back in the late 90s. And certainly, you know, bands out there like Gel or, you know, whoever, like, it's just, I love those bands. And I love the whole, then where the new hardcore scene's going is phenomenal. I love it. I love that music, but just, it's crazy to hear it called hardcore. Like I went and saw Como Mierda. I don't know. I should be able to speak Spanish. My brother's name's Julio, but
shit.
Yeah, eat shit in Spanish. Come on.
That's all right.
I went to go see them play. Like they played up here, which is crazy because I live in the middle of nowhere. So I went to go see them play, and to me, it was a grindcore band. Like I watched them, like this is fucking grindcore. This is amazing.
Sure.
They're, you know, it's like, what's up? We're Como Mierda. We're hardcore from, you know, like Jersey or Philly, wherever they're from. And I was like,
make a note of that.
It's crazy how wildly vast the definitions of music are. But I think back to the point, back with the kind of the way the music was going, I think when they started with JobForACowboy, they were trying to play death metal, but they had outside influences, and that was part of, you know, a lot of people doing that at the same time. And I think that's those initial deathcore bands. They all sound vastly different, at least to me. Like when I listen to, you know, Despised Icon, Red Chord, and JobForACowboy, it's very, you can tell when.
Oh yeah,
it's very
absolutely.
Unique. I think that seeing a very kind of, my vocabulary shot, some of this convoluted the word, like within like 5 years, there was 100 bands that all sounded the same. Right. But the initial run of bands coming out, it was like, everybody had a very unique sound.
And it was refreshing, you know, because, you know, as we were doing our thing in the late 90s, it really felt like death metal was dying off, you know, like we were, it was hard. It was hard to, you know, and there was a couple, you know, it's like the grunge thing kind of came out and started squashing everything a little bit. And so there was a few heavy hitters that kept it going, Cephalic being one of them. But
the shows got rough back then.
Yeah, they were rough for a minute. And then, you know, so hearing JobForACowboy, Despised Icon, stuff like that, it was definitely refreshing, and it was like, cool, we're in a good spot, you know what I mean? And so
it brought it back. It's coming back again now, and like, but it comes back in ways you wouldn't think. I don't know, like
right.
I feel like that was around the era where Cannibal Corpse shows were not like well attended. Like, you know, Corpse Grinder will talk about this, like the ebbs and flows and ups and downs of their career, where, you know, there was a period in the 90s where like they were the biggest thing in the fucking world, and then they just watched the death metal scene like dry out, and then they watch it come back. They like, you know, they've been there through the distance. So it's really interesting hearing, you know, George talk about like everywhere the scene's kind of gone throughout the years, but like that old school death metal scene kind of died, and like not completely, but I mean, I remember going to shows as a kid and they were still, you know, people there. But then like that new emergence with the deathcore was the younger crowd showing up to skate parks and VFWs and warehouse spaces, and shows were packing out. And now you have, you know, 600 kids jamming into a VFW wall to wall, and Deicide. I love Deicide. It's not talking shit, but then you have Deicide playing in front of, you know, 200 kids downstairs Palladium, you know, where I'm from. This new scene came out, and that's coming back now, like post-COVID, which is fucking exciting. Like, and it's
absolutely.
Like what's coming back now to me, and like I could be off base, or maybe it's just kind of like a Northeast thing, but watching grind be the biggest thing in the world right now up here is incredible to me, because I've always loved grind. I've I have a cock and ball torture back piece from my neck to my ass. Like I love grind music, and that's been always with me in my life. And like I just went saw fucking shout out to Origin because I love Jason, and those dudes are the best musicians in the world, like in the death metal scene. Jason's on the best frontman. But we went and saw them in Cambridge, this venue in the Middle East, and it was like, it looked like there was maybe 150 people in there in a like 500 cap venue. Like the room looked like a third full from where I was standing, and you had Atheist on the bill, Origin, Obscura. This was like a heavy hitter fucking tech tour, and like I'm stoked. I'm there like getting hammered, screaming, and just stoked to be there. 2 weeks prior to that, we saw No Mas, Bandit, and Wormrot. It's like if it wasn't sold out, I'd be very surprised. But at a much bigger venue right next door, like wall to wall, people going fucking ape shit, like launch themselves off the stage. Yeah. And you're like, when the hell did this happen? Like I remember seeing Magruder grind in a warehouse space with like 40 kids in a room the size of my bedroom, and seeing that be, at least in my mind, like what's emerging now, where you're like, I'm just going to shows and seeing No Mas shirts, like fuck the police, and you're like, dude, this is like the world's getting cool. So I think it's got to just be kids, man. Because like it's like all the all the old death metal guys, like we're all old. You know what I mean? It's like, do I really want to go to a show? It's a Wednesday night. You know what I mean? Where the kids are like down, and so the fact that they keep, to me, it's like I'm so sick of genres, like and all that's like it's fucking metal. You know what I'm saying? Like it's call it death, call it grind. They're freaking throwing down. The kids are throwing down in the pit. The place is packed. Like, I don't need a genre for that. I'm just happy to see that it's still going. You know what I mean? That the kids are still, and like you said, it's just like, I don't know, coming back, but the fact that we're in a high peak of the wave right now, I think has got to be great. Got to be great for you, right? So where are you guys at right now? Are you about to do? Are you kind of on a lull right now, or you with so many bands? You got what, 4 bands going right now? Oh geez, 4, but none doing what I would like them to be doing. I don't think JobForACowboy's ever gonna tour like again. I think we're gonna
really.
Yeah, I think we're a band, and I could be wrong, because it's not my call on this, but it's just everybody's lives. Like, are the guitar players in Ireland? There's guys that got kids. It's just been a hard thing to work through. We're starting to work on new music. Did
you tour for Moon Healer?
We did a single, we are 2023 or 2024 world tour was Blue Ridge Rock Fest in Virginia for one show.
Really?
Yeah, we did one festival off the record. It was our first show since 2017. So basically we just kind of were in limbo till the record came out. Right before the record came out, we did that one-off festival. We did like a warm-up show under a fake name kind of thing prior to it, and that was it. And then we're working on music now. Everybody in the band still talks, and like Tony plays on everything I do. Like I can't play. He's my favorite guitar player. So if I ever
sick guitars.
Yeah, if I ever have a project that needs a solo, I hit up Tony. And so the JobForACowboy stuff, I think we're going to be, I would like to think we're going to be doing fests and small runs at some point, but I honestly don't know. So I did say, if anybody wants to see the band and they see us pop up on a flyer, go, because that might be it. I don't know, but we are starting to work on new stuff. I know Tony's been like, he's always compiling songs. I started working on stuff about a month ago for it. Johnny just kind of called and was like, hey, like, how do you feel about, working on another record? It's like, cool, let's do it. So we got that. What I'm most excited about is we have a band that's basically JobForACowboy with a different bass player. We've Max from Black Dahlia Murder is one of my best friends. Grew up with. He was in Goratory with me when we were 14 together. We played in our first band in middle school together when we were like 12. So we have it's basically with JobForACowboy would be if I was the only guitar player. I don't know. Like I just kind of write all the stuff. And so it's like, there's none of like the big spaced out, sections. It's just kind of like the first record we did. So the band's called Serpent of Gnosis. The first record was just a grind, like a straight grind record. During Moon Healer, I took a huge step back because my life was kind of falling apart at the time. That record is, like Tony killed it. I worked on Agony Seeping Storm with him and Sorrow Filled Moon. I did like 2 weekend trips to the studio in Florida to like work on pre-production for him. But like I took a huge step back in that. And then kind of when I got my life back together, I was like all fired up to do music, kind of in that vein, but the record was done. So I ended up writing a new Serpent of Gnosis record. Guitars are tracked, drums are tracked. The drummer Darren does our mixing. He's played in Narcissus back in the day, Deeds of Flesh. Phenomenal technical drummer. The guy is so goddamn fast, scary.
Yeah,
but,
I remember Deeds of Flesh. Yeah, I think I played with them. I think so. I don't know.
With which band? Who were you playing with?
We were in a band called Butcher Shop back in like the 90s, late 90s. I think we went from like 95 to 2005. But I feel like I played. What's that?
Can I find this stuff? You got Butcher Shop stuff?
You can. Unfortunately, we got on a indie label and kind of in a weird spot right now, so it's hard. I don't have access to that music to put out. I wish I did. And then we were actually re-recording it for a while, and then that kind of fell through. And so we've, and then Tony's had a bunch of bands, and I've done a bunch of different other bands. But that particular one, yeah, I think we played just about with everybody that came through Denver. That was my last show. Was with a band called Pyrexia, a band called Pyrexia from I think they're from New Jersey or New York.
I think they're in New York. Sermon of Mockery, dude. That's one of my favorite
sick records. Yeah, and I looked at them at like kind of heavy hitters of the day, and
yeah, they were.
I remember we jumped in on like the end of their tour, and they've been like ripped off a bunch of nights in a row. And we're not very happy. We're all standing out in the parking lot, and they were freaking like ready to throw down. Like, I'm ready to mug an old lady for a sandwich, It's like, and I'm just standing there, and it's like my wife was pregnant with our second kid, and I was like, you know what? I think I'm gonna step back for a while, but I miss it, like Tony and I we're doing our musical project here. It's called Playgrat, and we record now it's weird. I wish we could be in the studio just jamming with each other in the space, but instead we're sending files back and forth, which I'm sure it sounds like you might be doing now if your other guitarist is in Ireland. Yeah. That is a process. That's a different vibe, different process of just like, okay, here, I'll email you some riffs. And then it's like, okay, I'll learn your riffs and I'll start adding to it. And it's like, well, here's what I added. Like, no, I don't like that because I'm in love with my part now.
It's hard. Yeah. You got to, I can get a little salty when riffs start going away, but
everybody does, right, Tony?
Yeah. Well, it's that gap in between communication. Like when you're in the band space, it's instant. Okay. They'll shoot it down instantly. But when you're sending the files, it's like that gap in between. And like you say, you have time to mull it over, and by the time he's mulled it over, you're like, nah, I'm already attached to it. So yeah, it does make it.
I think you get to like the idea in your head. So you have like a riff, and I am awful at drum programming. I use the easy, Superior Drummer like slide and drop MIDI stuff.
I use the shit out of it. I love it.
Yeah, but it's never like exactly what you want. So like you kind of have stuff like close, but it's not there, and you're picturing everything else in your head. But when you send the track, you're just getting like this shit drums and, right, like just doing shit.
Yeah.
In your head, you hear like over it. But that's not there. You know, when you're doing it live in a room, it's so easy just to like look at your singer and be like, yo, scream this kind of thing.
Right.
Yeah, but that's been, I've gotten used to that. That's been like life for me for 10 years, I feel like.
Yeah.
Once JobForACowboy stopped full time, like I took some years off music and then came back with the first Serpent of Gnosis record. Then we did a new Goratory, and JobForACowboy did a new record, then another Serpent of Gnosis record. So like I've been predominantly studio projects. The newest Serpent of Gnosis, we're just waiting for bass to get done, but I'm really stoked for that to see light of day. But yeah, I mean, doing the studio stuff, it's weird. Like I just thought there was no one that listened to metal where I live. I live like pretty close to the Canadian border. I'm northern New Hampshire. I'm in the woods.
Right.
My town's population is 800. Like I was saying during the intro, like I went through a divorce and like my ex-wife talked me into getting Tinder, and she's like, just go on there, I'll find someone. And I like went on, and it was just like, you know, I set it to 40 miles, and like right off the bat, it's like increase your distance by 10 miles. And I'm like, right, I'm gonna meet a fucking drummer up here, and it's here, you know.
Bill up the street, he likes to wear a little rouge on weekends, like.
And then, like the ones that do pop up, like I'm a vegan grindcore guy, and like the ones that pop up here in the woods, it's like I screenshotted it because it was blowing my mind. I was sending pictures to my friends. It's just like, oh, someone within mileage of me, and it's just this lady holding a deer heart, like rubbing blood on her face.
Yeah, that's metal.
You might have something in common. Don't judge, bro. So before I put this, I got one question on the JobForACowboy stuff before we kind of move on, and that was just, I was kind of blown away how Sun Eater and Moon Healer sound so similar. Like it sounds like a part two, but yet they were 10 years apart. How did you guys use the exact same studio, same production people, or how was that even achieved? Because 10 years apart and it sound like a follow-up album. Was it intentional?
Yeah, I mean, at least on Johnny's end, is very much a continuation of a concept.
Okay.
Sun Eater was a concept record, and he wanted to continue that lyrically, and he had a lot of like musical control, not control, but like whereas on Sun Eater, me and Tony were in a room together, like sorting through riffs. Like I was saying, I took a huge step back on Moon Healer. There was like 2 songs, and like I did the intro on the first, like the opening track, but it was like, yeah, I had very minimal involvement in the new one, especially compared to the other records. So Johnny picked up a lot of that. Like Johnny was one that was, you know, our singer was one that he had this concept idea, and he was going through with Tony's riffs. So Tony would kind of riff in like, here's 5 minutes of just riffs all kind of in the same tempo, and Johnny was working with them and going through it. I think Nick's bass is going to have a lot of continuity between. I mean, he has a very unique style, and I think if there's a different bass player on it, it would sound like a completely different record.
Sure.
And he is very.
I love the bass on it personally. I think the bass is phenomenal on it.
Yeah, no, Nick is an incredible player, and I think the band has him to thank for. I mean, like Tony's was predominant writer on Moon Healer, but I think Nick's kind of the face of like the sound, I guess. I don't know if that makes sense, but like when you hear the record, I think that, you know, that bass tone and like his playing is what makes it very unique. But yeah, we went to the same people, it's both to same guy, Jason Sukoff. We've been recording with him since 2009. Back when we did the Ruination record, we tried out 2 studios for a demo. We went down to Florida with Jason, and then we tried out the Machine in New Jersey. And we ended up going with Jason, and we kind of just stuck with him. Been going with him ever since.
Good choice.
Yeah. I don't know, it's good vibes, good dude. And yeah, he's a guitar player, so it's very much, you know, very involved. I know this last one, Tony tracked in Ireland at home. I mean, we're all kind of just tracking our own stuff at home these days, but it, you know, was kind of getting filtered through Jason. and Johnny. So
we're not the only ones, Tony. We're not the only ones that are all just tracking at home and emailing riffs.
I guess not. Thank God.
The last few people we've interviewed, they're all like got their bands and stuff, and I'm just sitting here like, meh, whatever. It was just like, oh, God, open your email, Tony. I got more emails for you.
Yeah, I miss that so much. Like the hanging out in a room and just playing with people. They're like the sending riffs back and forth. Like you have to like beat down mentally. You're like you forget how fun it is to just be in a room and like just take down some beers and riff. Like we have that. I have like a local weekend hardcore band called Stepdad. That's like just like a fun band. It was just like I ended up meeting people up here like, hey, we're all touring musicians that ended up living in the middle of nowhere, and we all miss actually just sitting in a room and like hearing loud stuff and having some drinks, and it's fun as shit doing
That's
it that
the
way.
Perfect name for that band too, because of the kind of gives that vibe.
Yeah. No, I mean we're the right age for it too.
Yeah, and I was just looking it up to make sure I had it right. Cautiously Pessimistic. It came out on my birthday.
Ooh,
was that November 8th? Was that November 8th? That's what it said.
Nice.
But yeah, I listened to that. I listened to that whole album. It's just good, man. I like it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's fun. Meatball riffs.
Yeah. The vocalist throws down.
Yeah, so that's the singer of Goratory.
Yeah.
He's my best friend. I fucking love that dude. But like that was the one thing we didn't find up here was a singer. We found a bass player and a drummer, and then we're just jamming with bass and drums for I feel like a year went by, and we're like, all right, I'm just calling Adam, and he'll drive up here. He doesn't give a fuck. So like, we called Adam up to sing on it, and then like coincidentally enough, like right after I ended up getting a roommate, this woman Jamie, who's like an incredible black metal vocalist. So like,
oh wow.
It's like, I found a singer a year late, but I'm just happy to be in a band with Adam because like I get to see him all the time now. It's like my excuse to see my best friend. I like force him to drive out into the woods to hang out with me and drink.
Nice.
I think I needed that in my life. I was just coming up with a new one. Like I really wanted to call the new record I Shit Your Pants, and like I had this whole vision for like the artwork. It's like
I shit everybody's pants.
And then, like our bass player was like, look, I got like kids, man, like we can't do this whole thing. And I was like, all right. So like we went with Sour Grapes and like the whole testicle theme. But that was fun as hell, like getting to call the artist. Tony Cole we used for the JobForACowboy stuff. I started using that artist back with Goratory back in 2004. We found him on like MySpace. Incredible artist, incredibly professional. He gets shit done in like a week. But like the conversations we always have with them are just amazing. You're like, all right, so like we want a band photo. But you need to superimpose like fake huge ball sacks on us. Like, Adams has to be like gigantic because he's got the biggest fucking balls I've ever seen in my life. And I got like small and stinky ones. So can you do like fume coming off? And he's like, oh, totally. Like I'll do like green, he's like feeding into it and like describing what each one of our balls will look like for this. And yeah, I don't know. It was a fun process.
Yeah. It definitely sounds like a lot of fun. There's some cool riffs and it's just slamming.
Yeah, when we did the newest one, Sour Grapes, that was like I had not written music in so long because we, last thing came out was Sun Eater, and then like I went in limbo for like 4 years maybe, and then did that new Serpent of Gnosis, the first Serpent of Gnosis record, which was a grind record. So I just was like listening to like, grind all day, just like Cobb C and like whatever, just like nonstop. And I was like, I don't want to stop writing, but like we finished the Serpent of Gnosis record because I mean anything over 20 minutes is just too much grind. So I was like, yeah. So doing the new Goratory, I feel like I just had like a lot in me I wanted to get out, and that was fun as hell. But same thing like you guys do, and you were saying, drummers in Connecticut, I was like recording a riff at a time, sending it to him. He'd program the drums, send it back, and like, but
right.
I don't know, it was still a fun record to do.
Yeah. So, but you did it all basically online like that, just sending it back and forth.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. Then like when the song would be done, crossfade bounce, send it to him, and he'd reamp it with whatever. No,
So
your
when's
studio,
go ahead.
yeah, I want to I want to ask you questions because you're a studio guy. When you're tracking, do you initially track with like the plugins and then reamp after?
Yeah, I do. But you know, I'm a project studio guy, you know, so we've recorded we've recorded a few bands, but I mean, you know, talking like 30, 40 bands, you know, something like that. Maybe 30, yeah. But it was more projects. It was more, you know, if you don't have a label, you know, come to me. I'll help you out. You know, if you're on a label and you're getting that label's helping you, then, you know, go to Dave Otero, right? But yeah. But so we were doing a lot, you know, and one thing I learned, like I said in a prior podcast, is just like I can't record everybody that brings me money, you know, because I just can't, you know, I got to be selective, you know. So even though we're small scale, but me personally, yeah, just run direct. Give me a nice direct tone or nice, you know, DI signal, and, you know, use a plugin or whatever, and then I'll read.
My question was gonna be like, what's your favorite like metal plugin right now? It was like, that's the world I'm in, and like, where are you at? What's your go-to if you're playing?
For guitars,
yeah,
I like the IK Multimedia Tonex stuff. You know, me personally, I know there's a lot of trendy ones that a lot of guys are using. But me personally, I like the IK Multimedia stuff because you can build your own amps, or then you can go online, you can jack other people's amps. I share a bunch of my amps, or then there's other people like, you know, Mendel, formerly of Aborted, he's like sells packs. There's a bunch of guys now that are all selling their packs now. They're just reamping their rigs and capturing their rigs and making their own IRs and putting them up, you know. So I love the software. It works great, and I've pretty much can build. And that's the thing too, is sometimes I'll sit here and I'll because I've been reamping since, you know, 04, 05, and so I have all these little techniques I've used over the years, and I love it. And then I'll sit here with this one, and then I compare them to these IRs, and it's like, shit, man, you know. I don't
good.
Yeah, it sounds really good.
It sounds pretty good, you know. It's like, oh, I gotta reamp it just cause I can't do that, you know. And it's like, but
yeah, I think the last two JobForACowboy records are not amped. I want to see their plugins on both. Because we've always tracked with Jason, like with Sukoff, like track with plugin, and then he'll reamp after. And I want to see both Sun Eater and Moon Healer were just.
What is your favorite?
Ooh, I was asking you because like I that's the one thing I dump my money into. I just buy whatever I can. I haven't fucked with that stuff at all. I mean, I'm kind of limited in scope of, I guess, what I know in this world of stuff. But
sure.
I was searching for the Marshall tone for a while, and the Lassie Lambert pack from STL. I think that's like, he's the only one that like nailed that Marshall. Going through, like I, you know, kind of worked my way through like all the neural stuff as it came out over the years, and I still keep going back to like the Lassie Lambert STL with I use York IRs on it. I do like a VHT York on one side and a VHT Marshall. Sorry, a York VHT on one side and a York Marshall IR on the other. And I just fuck with the Marshall amp on there. It's at least for my setup, I think it's like not touchable for like the kind of like my style and my rig and like, you know, what I'm playing out of.
Yeah, that brings us to the next questions, because I was gonna start hitting you up about your rig and some of your gear, and so that's interesting. You know, when I listened to the last couple of JobForACowboy records, I wasn't completely analyzing the guitars. You know, I was more like just going down just on that ride with the music. I was like, man, this is so I wasn't expecting that, you know, because I mean I've heard the band for years, but I haven't listened to them and haven't in a while. I've just been busy doing my own thing.
Yeah.
And so you know, with the idea of getting to talk to you, I was like, I'm gonna go back and listen to and I was just freaking blown away. And so that's all DI, huh?
Yeah. So Tony, when we did Sun Eater, that was all tracked down in Florida. It was done, you know, just with plugins, and then he reamped after. But I think he ended up using.
Oh, he did reamp after. Okay.
But I think I want to say he didn't actually use an amp. I want to say he just like changed plugins. I think he might have had like something off of Kemper at the time.
Right. I was this close to buying a Kemper. I mean, I've got my amp here, and I thought, well, I'll just do a power soak or something so I can, you know, get the tubes cranking and not, you know, blow my ears out. But and a friend of mine's got a Kemper, and he swears by it. And then I was like, you know, I'm just gonna try the IK multimedia stuff, the Tonex stuff. You know, it's a fraction of the cost, and you can even some of them they'll come with like this one. I don't actually use it too much now, but it has its own little interface where you can do active and passive and different stuff on your pickups and different, you know, it's strictly for guitar. I think the whole setup was like $500 or something, but the access to all of the amps online is probably my favorite part. And then there's all the cats that are, you know, amazing at it, that are, you know, selling their amp packs, you know, $50, $100, whatever, their IRs. But, just having everything, it's like, oh, I want a Marshall. I want, I don't know, a 5150, whatever. Like you can get them all, you know, it's like, oh, I want that Road King. That's what I really want. You know, some like,
yeah, I mean, there's like the Neural Marshall, the Neural Mesa,
right.
Like whatever plugin like that Mesa, they kill the Mesa. Like when I jam on my own, like, and I'm not writing music and I'm just like sitting in my room jamming, like I use the Neural Mesa. But when I'm actually writing and doing like home stuff, you know, like trying to like create music, I use the Leslie Lerman Marshall. But I don't know, the Kemper world, I never got into that, and I was always like kind of weird about it. I think back in the day, because when we did Sun Eater, I remember Jason had just got a Kemper. Like I feel like it was new at the time. I don't know if we were recorded in 2013 or 14. I remember like he had it, and I'm like, holy shit, it's the size of a lunchbox, and it's got all these cool tones, and kind of like blew my mind at the time. Like now it's wild seeing everybody like live rig it with that kind of stuff. But
yeah, what's the one they're using now, Tony? What's the big dog?
Oh, I can't even remember the name of that.
It's like
the Quad Cortex.
The Quad Cortex, is that it? Yeah, it's like a big old amp. It's like you got to be a freaking scientist to run that thing, just about.
Dude, it fucking blew my mind. Like, so we did, like, I've been out of the show world for a while. It's like we do Stepdad shows, like we're playing, you know, like we're back to VFWs and skate parks again. And like there's like, it makes me feel really fucking old, because like, holy shit, I'm 40 playing in a skate park, and like everybody here is like money. Like I feel weird drinking beers. I'm gonna go like stand in the bathroom with our singer and drink, because like I don't know.
Like I'm supposed to be in the back.
Yeah. But like, so I've been out of touch on like the touring community. And
when's the last time you toured?
I haven't done a full tour since probably 2014. We would I've done a lot of fests. Like Goratory came back and did fests, and JobForACowboy, you know, has done fests.
So my question of what's your tour setup look like these days? That nothing.
I still have the same rig I play now.
Do you have the same rig? So what is that rig?
Jet City.
Okay.
So, and like they don't make those anymore. I think the dude uses that name to like make these custom 20-watt Marshalls. But I loved Soldano. I like that SLO. I remember like wanting the SLO so bad and not being able to afford it when I was younger. It was back, I want to say it was when I was in Despised Icon. And Mike Soldano came out with a 1-channel version, just like the gain channel of the SLO, and called it the Avenger. So I got that because it was like the one I could afford. But it came kind of like tricky to tour with when all of a sudden you need to have like clean channel parts. So I had to have like an AB switch and switch over to like a preamp power amp thing. So now all of a sudden I have like a rack that's going with me as well. So it was just like a lot of gear to be moving around. And like Eric from Despised Icon's like, hey, my friend builds, like cases for these. So we got a spot for your head and the rack above it. Like all of a sudden my amp is now like 3.5 feet wide, and 3.5 feet tall and 4 feet wide. And you're like, this fucking monster is impossible to go downstairs with. So I stopped playing the Avenger, still couldn't afford an SLO. And then we played, Job had we got endorsed through, I want to say it was EVH when Fender. Oh, because I was playing, I was endorsed by Jackson, and then
Nice.
Fender got the EVH thing, like after PV had the EVH,
Right.
had the 5150s. So I were hitting them up. I was like, hey, like obviously we like 5150s and all that shit. Like, can we get in on this? So right when Fender started doing those, because Fender owned Jackson, so it was like an easy,
Sure.
amp to get for us. We started doing the EVHs, and then this dude Doug came out to see us in Seattle, and was like, hey, like I'm making Soldano amps for Mike Soldano, but like it's the same circuitry and everything, but we're making them overseas. Like, would you guys be down to come try them out tomorrow? And I was like, where? He's like, Mike's garage. And I was like talking with Tony. I was like, dude, whether we want these amps or not, which like I'm gonna guess like if they're like overseas stuff, then Mike won't put his name on it. If like he won't allow Soldano to be like, maybe it's not good. But like I want to go just to see Mike's shop, because when the fuck else are you gonna go to Soldano's garage? It was
Right.
like in my head was like this myth of like Mike just hand wiring all these amps in his garage.
Right.
Like,
Right.
like through the entirety of Soldano was just hand wiring these amps. So like we went, and holy shit, these fucking amps. I feel like they were the 5150s no one found out about. Like, remember like everybody in the metal scene and like the early mid 2000s where like everybody needed to get a 5150, but back when
Right.
it first came out, like no one gave a fuck. Like I feel like Jet City's the amp that didn't catch on, because we went to the garage and played them, and they like sizzle out a little quicker than the actual SLO. So you get a more like zhin, zhin, like that kind
Yeah.
of environment, like
Yeah.
it just I love that sizzle in the amp, or just everything kind of fully saturates, and you just
Yeah.
with the core just the zhin, zhin, zhin. I don't know if it's because it's made exactly like the SLO, but with cheaper parts that are like the cheaper transformer or something, that's making it kind of like
Right.
overgain a little bit. I don't know shit about.
Well, I think I mean, I don't know either, so I'm going to take a stab at it, but I think it's more in just how it's built, like the soldering, the wiring, because I think everybody's incestuous with the parts, like all the tubes are coming from Russia, stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
I think that's accurate, but it really is on how much care and time, like you can pull like some of the cheap, made in Bangladesh or whatever, and you pull the freaking top off and it's just a nest, or you can see where everything's wired and it's solid wiring, or excuse me, soldered and solid wiring and everything. So that would be my guess though, as far as like how do we save money, it's just that build quality, but it's probably the same ish parts, obviously not his handmade stuff, but
yeah. But
he's got.
I don't know what it was, but like I fell in love with the Jet City amp, and I've been playing that ever since. Same with Tony. Like we just did our reunion show, Blue Ridge. We brought our Jet City heads down for it, and the Jet City cab. Like we had our rigs for it, and that's still what I play to this day. And like kind of going back to what we were talking about earlier with the Quad Cortex worlds, like it blew my mind. Seeing our bands are touring now, it's kind of where I was going with this earlier. It was like
Right.
We showed up to the fest and Upon a Burning Body was playing, and like I've known Danny since he was a kid coming out to Despised Icon shows. He's the singer for Upon a Burning Body. It's like, oh shit, I gotta go see Danny play. And like ran up on stage, and it's silence. It's like a silent disco when you get up on stage, because you're like, oh shit, like they're running probably Quad Cortex or something similar. They got in-ears, which is fucking awesome. But then like they invited, like not invited, they're like told the crowd like, get the fuck up here, jump the barricade, get on stage. And you like watch like 100 people run up, and like the look of shock when they like hit the stage and realize you just hear cymbals. And you know, they're up there like headbanging to like, shh, 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 bah,
Yeah.
shh. And like, that's what you hear on stage. So I was like, oh my God, this is crazy. Like, I feel like I ended up in the future. Like, and it's cool for them, but like, it just didn't seem like metal to me. I don't know. And then like, you watch the next band go on and you're like, oh, they're bringing cabs up. Like, cool. And you're like, oh shit, they're dummy cabs. Like those are here for show. And it just kept happening. Like no one.
I'm glad you're bringing this up because I've been super curious about this because it's like my last show was like 2006
Yeah.
and shit has changed.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I'm curious like how this is going down. So this is really interesting. And so it dummy cabs even.
Yeah. So a lot of bands are doing dummy cabs. A lot of people run tracks. The drummer we had playing with us like live was, you know, he's still in the scene and like consistently touring with bands. And he was telling us about all the like bands running tracks. And I was like, no way. He's like, yeah, just like watch tonight, you know, like bands are going to be up and they're going to be playing tracks. Like most, you know, not most, it's like a lot of these bands, like they don't care about like a live thing. Like they know the people in the crowd want to hear the record. I'm like, dude, that's not like, that's the opposite of punk rock. Like I'm fucking 40, man. Like I want to hear the mess.
Yeah.
Like I want to like be a part of the show.
Yeah.
He's like, dude, people don't want that now. Like kids come out,
Bullshit.
they want to hear the record. And then you like, you know, you watch bands where like, oh, the bass player is not actually playing bass. There's bass on a track, or like you hear leads going and no one's
serious.
And like no one's playing the lead.
You're ripping my heart out right now. Don't
and, it's fucking sick. I mean, when we toured, like we had a thing called the party bucket. Like we came up, we had a bottle of Jameson in the middle, and we surrounded by beers. Me and the guitar player would like line up beers across the top of our amps and see who could like reach the end of the line of beers first. And you're like, who knows what's going to happen today? You know, like it's going to be fun. Like we're here, you're in the moment. If you're at the show, like you're part of the experience. And now
we used to do this bit. It was like lucky shots. We'd like spend whatever extra money we had and we'd get a bunch of shots and then we would feed them to the crowd. You're like, all right, you know, like who, like, and then of course it's our heaviest tune because they'll get all liquored up and throw down in the pit, you know, and it's like, but I'm 50 and I remember when Triggers was cheating. You know, everybody was like, oh, he's using Triggers, he's cheating, you know. It's like Tony had a funny story with was it Dennis from Macabre, and it's like, oh, I'm using the same he's using the same triggers that you're using, right, Tony?
Yeah, because I was using old TD7s on the V drums and
the V drum.
A lot of people were turned off that I was using electronic drums, but it's like, dude, you just plug the fucking thing in and go. You don't have to set up all these mics. But yeah, he came in and looked at me and he's like, those are the triggers I used on the Sinister Slaughter album. And so I felt liberated. I was like, oh, see, it's all good.
That's funny. Yeah. And so now it's like, now we're bringing up dummy amps and freaking,
you can't
not you guys though. Obviously your bands don't do that.
It's like, fuck, I'm too old to learn that. I was talking to, so I've known Blue from Fit for an Autopsy since we were very, very, very young. And I was at a like mutual friend's 40th birthday party a few months ago. And I was just like, dude, you know, my life like obviously fell apart and like I'm just I'm stuck in the woods and I think I'm just ready to fucking burn it all down. Like, you guys think about taking out a guitar tech? And he was like, what do you know about like, you know, quad cortex and running the in-ears? And I'm like, nothing. He's like, yeah, no, that's what you need to know now. Like that's the world. Like no one's playing real amps any, like, you know, like hey, I can change tubes and like solder. Like that's irrelevant. It's like that world's gone. I wouldn't even know how to exist, but I mean that's where it's gone. That's the future.
That's
music.
Where we're at, dude.
And if you can hear your entire band's CD quality in your ears, like why the fuck not? I would imagine.
Oh, I would love the in-ears. I can't tell you how many times there was bad monitoring or I couldn't hear shit, and it's like, oh yeah, the in-ears would be fantastic.
It's so easy for me to sit here and talk shit, but if I was doing this every day for the past decade and the technology's there, I'd probably be doing it too.
Absolutely.
Most people swear by them. Like once you use them, you can't ever not use them ever again.
Yeah, and again, like I'm coming from an outside perspective because like I only play once in a while, and you know, like the only consistent thing I do is like a shitty meatball riffed hardcore band on the weekends for fun. But like seeing it happen it killed the vibe. So like, all right, I went to two New England Metal Fests ago. It was right after JobForACowboy did the Blue Ridge show. I went to New England Metal Fest the next week to see the Despised Icon guys. And I was like, you wouldn't fucking believe what I saw. Because all this shit was like fresh in my head. I'm like, bands are running tracks. No one's got real amps. There's no fucking monitors. Like everybody's got in-ears. I'm standing on stage and all I hear is shh. I was like, dude, this isn't fucking metal. And the guitar player Eric starts like laughing at me. He's like, you ready to see my rig? And like he pulls up the Kemper. I was like, he's like, dude, this is what you do. He's like, why would you spend thousands of dollars to rent a whole fucking back line in Europe when you can show up with this and have like your fucking record guitar tone? And he's right. It's like, how many times have I been overseas and been playing fucking garbage? Like we did a run through, like it was like C Market Russia with JobForACowboy. We're like, usually we do like St. Petersburg, Moscow, but we were doing like Nizhny Novgorod, Samara, Saratov. I'm probably saying all these cities like an asshole, but we show up and there's like a 12-inch combo amp on a stool with a mic in front of it. And you're like, this is what's happening right now. And
like pretty soon I'm just gonna bring my phone. Like,
yeah, and that's what happened. And you're like, there is no gain coming out of here. So like you're playing like JobForACowboy played in this, what I think might have been a theater or like for like plays back 100 years ago with like a fucking 12-inch combo amp on a stool with a mic in front of it, playing low gain. Like all their songs like, bah, 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 bah. You know, it's like, zhun, zhun. It's like, bah, ding, ding, ding. But if you could just roll up with a Kemper in your fucking backpack and be like, yo, we're going to sound like studio quality today. Like, I get it. Like, I'd be on board too. But I did go on my whole, like, drank too much. I went on my rant. And then he's like, yeah, that's what we do all of these things too, because that's what you do now. And, like, that's what makes sense. But
I tell you that Tonex deal, it's got a pedal too. And all you could put all your amps on this pedal. It's about yay big. And it's a nice little pedal. And, like, I've been hearing all these guys, like, yeah, I'm using this little pedal. And it's like, it's kind of nutty, but I tell you, I spent 2 full weekends reamping. You know, I got the Mesa with the vintage 30s, and it's all wired, and you know, it's like, and got my mic technique, got my 2 mics, and the whole deal. And I sat here going over and over and over it, just trying. Like, I cannot this freaking synthesized direct tone is not going to beat me out here. And I was like, at the end of the day, it was like, yeah, I had a little something here, had a little more woof on this, but at the end, you know, it's just how you tweaked it. I was like, yeah, I don't know, man. This is where we're at, you know.
It is, yeah. You said the new JobForACowboy's got an STL pack on it, you know.
Yeah.
It's like,
it sounds great. That album is freaking sick, dude. I was like, I can't believe I haven't listened to these guys in a while. Like, man, this shit is good. I went back and was like, listened to like the last 3 albums, you know.
Well,
so
it's just say like that. I mean, like that shit is, that tone that you can get now is like, you can't tell the difference with amps. And like
the last time you can, it's when you try to compare them, but once you're not comparing them, you don't hear the difference usually. It's only when
the one thing I will say though is like, that day, the Metal Fest day, where I went to see Despised Icon, and they were like at the Kempers, all the bands, same thing. Everybody side stage was, you know, like you hear like silent disco cymbals going, but Terror did come up, and Terror plugged in all their real amps. They had their monitors fucking cranked, and I was like, it brought feelings back. Where like, man, this is why I like fucking music. Everybody side stage just fucking like, you know, piling up on each other and like feeling it. And it was like, I feel like that vibe does carry across live. Yeah. And
I feel like for the real, you know, cause I'm Tony here. He's the guy that makes me legit. He's the solo guitarist and the drum. Like, he plays drums and solos and the whole nine. I'm more of a rhythm guitarist, but that, you know, when you're dynamic picking with the tubes and they're hot and you're getting some of that, I feel like, some of these Kempers and some of this, you know, they can't completely mimic that. But then as I'm playing with it, I'm like, well, there it is, though. You know,
like he's saying, know the feel of
you know,
it.
like
Like you
Jeff
don't get that.
Jeff Loomis can feel it. You know what I'm saying? It's just like, but I don't know, man.
It is different though with the real amp and the tubes, though. You know, it still has that. Like he was saying,
it's like I don't give a shit. It's got to be. So, are there any bands that you've really been stoked on lately? Like, as far as like in your neck of the woods, like who's the band right now? Like,
Ooh, up here? I mean, on our neck of the woods, we came up with koozies that said Stepdad, heaviest band in Groton, because we're the only band up here.
Dope.
There is no music up here.
Well, I'm a follower now, so.
But no, I mean, I think just because I've been out of touch for a few years, I've just been up here in the woods, and like after going through the divorce and stuff, like I'm like going back out to shows on the weekends and like getting back into the like grind scene after like a absence in it. Where like I feel like I just listened to the same shit for years. It's like I'm still like, you know, Magruder Grind and Yakov scene, like going out and seeing Nomas. Fucking love those guys. I just saw them for the first time down in Boston. Bandit and Wormrot. Wormrot's always like, I fucking love Wormrot. They're amazing. But like I had never seen Nomas or Bandit before. And I fucking loved the show so much. I was like, dude, fuck it. I just called out of work and drove down to Jersey and just followed the tour down to just see more of it. And I was like, so I in the grind world, I think Bandit's fucking rad. They're like kind of Pig Destroyer-esque. No Mas is just angry fucking grind. Love them. For this kind of area, for like locals though, brand new band, like well, newish, about a year, called Pocket Knife. They got a really cool sound. They're more in the hardcore-ish type realm. Definitely not in like the grind world, but I'd say if you to call it anything, it'd be hardcore. Pocket Knife's pretty fucking rad. I'd say I don't know. Just listen to weird shit.
Yeah, that's cool. So what's next for you? What do you got? You got anything lined up now? You said you're in the studio. You're with you mentioned so many bands. I'm drawing a blank.
Serpent of Gnosis is the
that's right.
So I think
that's where you guys are at right now.
I mean, there's a few things going. We've been on pause because like Black Dahlia was back out touring. They're chilling out now. I think September they go with Lorna Shore, but we were supposed to have Based on, but then there's like the governor or whoever somewhere Rhode Island made some new lead rules. So like the bass player that was going to track us had to take all these lead courses and repaint his whole house or something because he rents an apartment out in it.
Oh wow.
So we're on pause until he does that. So, but the new Serpent of Gnosis records in the mix. We just tracked the new Stepdad record in May.
Nice.
This guy Ryan Stinson is fucking phenomenal. We found out about him because of Pocket Knife. I heard that band Pocket Knife. We played with them. Before we played with them with Stepdad, I checked them out and I was like, this is the angriest sounding recording I've heard in a long time. You had that feeling like back in the day when you first heard like Dysphere Live the Storm and you're like, who's getting this fucking like in tuned guitar tone? Like who was doing that? You're like, oh shit. Like, cause I was living in Boston at the time. You're like, this is happening here. Like God City. Like I didn't know it was, Kurt from Converge. But like, all those records started coming out that kind of created this sound. And I feel like a lot of my favorite bands have been a result of that, like Trap Them, Black Breath, like all these bands that kind of went through that God City world and, out of Salem, Mass to record, like all have that kind of HM2 similar tone that Kurt really, really fucking nailed down. And when I heard the new Pocket Knife songs that came out, the song Loud, it was called Loud Loud. It just sounded like this oversaturated, angry fucking like I've been in tech death world for so long. I feel like my heart was never in tech death world. I was always more death grind and grindcore. And then hearing that kind of production kind of gave me that feeling after like hearing, that God City kind of mix and realizing what it was. And you're like, oh, there's a sound coming out of the studio. And hearing that sound with that Pocket Knife stuff, I was like, shit, even music aside, just like the angry production on it, you're like, this this sounds like someone's in their basement making the angriest shit ever, but like it's clear and loud, and like it gets you fucking, like, at least got me hyped. So we ended up hitting them up kind of blindly, like, yo, who recorded this? Where is this guy? Can we have his phone number? And we ended up driving to Maine to record with him. So that's on deck as the new Stepdad. We're just waiting for it to get mixed right now.
Awesome.
We did a Kill All the White People typo cover on it too. I'm really excited to recreate the Bloody Kisses album cover with our singer, put on the black lipstick and
awesome.
But so we got that, and nothing going with Goratory right now. The drummer hit me up, but I think there's just kind of a lot of stuff in the works, so that's going to be on pause for a minute because Johnny called to do new JobForACowboy stuff, so I'm guessing I'm going to lose the next couple of years to that. So,
busy.
I think that's
yeah. So here comes another one, huh?
Yeah, I think that's
all right.
But I mean, who knows? It takes us forever to do anything because we're bouncing tracks to each other from Ireland to New Hampshire to Arizona to Denver. So,
oh wow, yeah, that's freaking awesome. Well, I don't want to hear any complaining from my guys. It's like, all right, man. Well, shoot, I appreciate you coming on, dude. Usually I try to go about an hour. This one's gone about an hour and a half. So thank you very much. I appreciate you taking the time.
Yeah, thanks for letting me like ramble, especially when like I get really nervous for this kind of shit. So I started drinking. I don't think you'll find a single JobForACowboy interview with me because I was like super anxious back in the day. But we did the Cali Death podcast, me and the Goratory singer last month. And he was like, yeah, we usually aim for about 2 hours. If you look it up on Spotify, mine and our singers is 6 hours long.
Oh, wow.
I blacked the fuck out at one point. I think 5 in the morning, and I was just shit talking like really nice people.
Oh, shit.
Like, you know what? Fuck Hate Breed. They brought us on tour and I had a drink in the parking lot. You know, you can't even shit. That's just like being a mess. So it's probably good you cut me off at an hour and a half.
Well, I could let you keep going, but it's like I try to we're small potatoes, and so I'm trying to respect everybody's time. But I really appreciate you coming on. It means a lot. Where can people find you then online? I mean, you basically rattled them all off, but I can kind of post some links and stuff too if you like.
Yeah, I mean, just Instagram, Stepdad NH for Stepdad New Hampshire's. Some Meatball Rift hardcore stuff with some old guys trying to make it happen still. Serpent of Gnosis. And I got social media for the first time a month ago. So if you want to look at pictures of me drinking heavily with my roommate, I'm at Some Other Ass Jew is my name on there. Have at it, I guess.
Awesome.
I got nothing to hype. I don't know. Like, whatever. Yeah.
And then I got one last goofy question for fun. If your music were a creature, what would it look like?
It would be a cat because I think everything should look like cats. I'm fucking obsessed. So I think if I move my chair, you could probably see my ceramic cat collection.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, and awesome. A banjo.
Yeah, everything should look like cats always, regardless, because it's going to be better that way.
That's interesting. So we've had all these different answers, and then last week we had a dog. Yeah. And today we got a cat.
Yeah. I back who was dog guy because I back him.
Yeah. Jeff Kahn, Skeleton of God, old school Colorado pioneer shit.
Well, I support that, man.
Absolutely.
My answer would be cat too.
Thank you very much, cool. Al, for coming on. I appreciate it. Thanks everybody that stayed and hung with us down here till the end. Don't forget to like, rate, and subscribe, all of that crap. And check us out next week. We're doing these every week. So thanks again, Al. I appreciate you coming by, man. Thank you very much.
Thank you guys for having me. It was a lot of fun.
Absolutely. Take care. All right.
Bye, everybody.